All right, today I want to talk about what it's like being a foreigner in the Philippines. All right. Now, I'm not specifically going to talk about a specific race or person or wherever country you come from. I'm just going to talk about what it's like in general because I've seen how many different races and many different races of people are treated while I was there. You see people from many different backgrounds, from Middle East, from Asia, of course, from the U.S., Great Britain, London area, Australia, New Zealand, you name it. Anybody in there, it's just a big melting pot of foreigners in there, especially in Manila. Not so much in my area, but it's foreigners are really coming up in that area as well. So, for the most part, like I said before, man, being a foreigner in the Philippines is really cool. I mean, for the most part, the people are really nice, they're friendly, they're cordial, they're inviting. For the most part, they just want to know you and know about where you're coming from, know about your place. They're excited about it because maybe they want to end up going there one way or another in their life. So they want to ask you what it's like there. So, like I said, for the most part, they're cordial, they're cool, they're inviting, but be careful, man, because sometimes they'll invite you out and expect you to pay. So you gotta be wary of that. Sometimes they'll invite you out, and then because you're the foreigner, you gotta pay. Chances are you might want to pay, but then again, it's gonna become a revolving door, and it's gonna be a continuous cycle. So just because they're forward and forthcoming, sometimes they may expect you to pay. So you gotta be wary of that. But for the most part, most of them are not really like that. But there are a couple that are. Like I said, I love the country. It's my place, but sometimes you have to deal with a certain kind of people. But again, that's everywhere, not just where I live. But let's see. Now I'm going to speak from the perspective of being African American myself and living in that country. Now, here's the deal. If you look like me, chances are they're going to say or ask if you are from Africa. I mean, what can you say? I mean, you look like this, and for the most part, you're black, so they just assume you're from Africa. So, when they ask where you're from and you say what state, you have to refer to yourself as Black American as opposed to African American. Because I think that if they hear the word African, they're just going to assume African from Africa, not Black American from America. So you're going to have to separate yourself from there because if they start asking you questions about what Africa's like, and me personally, I've always wanted to go on, but I always wanted to go, but I've never been. I can't answer no questions like that because that ain't my place, right? So it's very clear that you state where you're from in your city, your state, wherever. They'll probably ask you what it's like, and then that's it. Now, this is a subject that most people deal with, whether it's in our country or whether it's in the Philippines or whether it's in Poland or Ukraine or wherever you're hanging out at. You're gonna have to deal with the issue of the N-word. You can't avoid it. I mean, now I can tell you right now, when I used to hear it before when I first got there, because you're gonna hear it. I mean, it's almost like impossible for you not to hear it if you've been there for as long as I've been there. I think I can count on one hand how many incidences I've had dealing with situations where they call me out like that. But for the most part, considering that's not my country, I didn't act out. I may have felt a certain kind of way. I may have felt like I wanted to spaz out, but I couldn't. I just couldn't, because you have to think. I'm not trying to lose my visa status over some ignorance. It's just not worth it. But for the most part, I didn't really have any issues as far as dealing with the N word. But as I started to live there longer and started to understand the culture and the people, I came to two different perspectives in which to look at the situation. Now, perspective number one, straight up ignorance. Just somebody trying you. Now, this comes from both guys and girls. They're going to try you. Maybe every now and again you'll hear them say the word. Now, what I used to do is I used to stare at them real hard to let them know that I understood what they said. And sometimes if I could, I would say something to them in their language so that they can understand I'm not playing around with that. Or if you stare at them really hard, they'll just they'll go away, or they'll stop looking at you, or they'll change their laughter, which it may have started out and then all of a sudden they don't look at you no more. They don't do nothing because they don't want to try you for the most part. They don't want nothing. They just wanted to be ignorant, or they may have wanted to impress a friend. Sometimes it's like these young kids that just want to walk around and just say the word because they think it's cool, which leads me into my second perspective. What I learned while I was over there is, for the most part, education is something that is golden in that country, and not everybody gets the opportunity to educate themselves in a school setting. So for the most part, some of them are not really, how can I say this? They're not really up to date on what that word really means. Mainly because the way that they learn to speak English is by listening to hip hop music and rap music. Now, of course, everybody knows in hip hop music and rap music, I think the N word may be said 20, 30, 40 times in a song. So for the most part, they may even think that that's normal. Some of them actually think that it's normal to say that word because they're saying it in a song, so they think that it's a normal word. And as crazy as that may seem, that's actually accurate. Some people learn to speak English different ways, not necessarily in a classroom setting. So for that particular purpose alone, if you hear the word or they come to you and say it, they're not saying it to be disrespectful. They're saying it because that's the word that they know, and they learned it through listening to hip hop music. So, before I overreacted or or got in my feelings about hearing the word, I used to have to think about the reasons why. Now, if they said it to be disrespectful, then I would have to say something back. It's just natural. I would say something back to them in Filipino so that they can understand that I'm not joking around. And then after that, they wouldn't look at me. They just go away. But if they approach me with a smile on their face, like they're really trying to have a conversation with me, you can tell when somebody's trying to play you or when somebody's really just trying to be friendly. You can notice it by the way that they approach you. Now, for the most part, if they approach me in a way that wasn't really like jokingly trying to like disrespect, then I wouldn't have a problem with it. I'd just be like, "What's up?" and I'd just walk away. But, as far as being, Black American over there, I didn't really have any problems. I think, and I don't even think I really had that many issues. Like I said, I can count them all on one hand. Now, sometimes girls, even they'll be disrespectful too, man. It's not just the guys or the young kids, man. It's the women. Sometimes they're really not interested in, African Americans because of what they see on TV or something like that. And they may say something disrespectful. So then I'd have to say my own words, and then I'll just have to say, forget you. I said, I don't have no problems dealing with you. You just want to call them out, call them all kinds of names or something like that. Instead of getting disrespectful, I would say my piece, and then I just never bothered with them again. And that's happened on more than a couple of occasions. But for the most part, I never really had any problems. Or I would have somebody that was with me that spoke the language that would say something to them for me. It just depends on who was with me at the time. But other than that, I don't want to talk about it, but I feel like it's necessary. The only other people that kind of sort of, they don't get a bad rap, but I hear them talking unnecessary things about this certain type of people because of a certain kind of reason. Now, most of the kids, I don't feel like I want to talk about this. I feel like it's wrong, but what I've noticed while I was... All right, never mind. I'm not even going to talk about it because I don't feel it's right to talk about somebody else like that. But, there are certain situations and certain kind of people that they react to differently while they're there because, of the way that they, carry themselves in a certain kind of way. They always have something kind of on the side mark to say about them, but I'll just leave that be for now. But for the most part, being a foreigner in the Philippines, love it. It's my country, man. I'll always love it. I'll always support it. Like I said, whenever it's time for me to retire, even though I'm not too old right now, I'm already thinking about retirement. That's gonna be where I end up for sure. I love the country. Peace.